or they may well be physically incarnate and fully awakened as Marci, myself, and TJ, and I'm sure millions of other listeners at this time.
Okay, that's a good point. Now, Richard, as far as topics today, since we're just going to introduce ourselves so people can get used to our responses, and we're going to zinc our energies together, what topics should we introduce for the Ascension Age Awakening Clergy Metaphysicians? And she's evoked the Ascension Masters and mentioned some names. But once we talk about it, especially just working together, folks, as energies, dimensions, and bandwidths, even as interdimensionals, we're using radio waves. But we need to get our categories down, like a syllabus, like people are going back to school. But this is the Metaphysical Radio Show. Oh, my. Hold on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know.
So, Richard, go ahead and tell us your topics.
Are you talking to me or Richard?
Hello?
Did we lose her again?
We're having minor glitches, it appears, for some odd reason, but then again, Spirit knows. Anyway,
it's normal, and I do feel them around me. I don't know if you guys want me to do tones or you want to do categories, but my head is spinning.
Yeah,
I know. That's why I always ask.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I always ask.
We have to have the consensus of 3 in order to, sponsor
I know, and
that.
I'm just telling you, they are around.
I know.
Feel them.
Anyway, getting on to the topics of metaphysics. Metaphysics covers a wide range of topics, okay? I mean, it covers channeling. It covers auric seeing and auric exploration. It covers the clairaudience, clairsentience, which clairaudience, of course, is the ability to hear spirits. Clairsentience is the ability to sense spirits. Let's see here, the other 3.
Clear smelling, clear hearing.
Yeah, clear, there's clear names for them. Yeah, but I mean, there's actually clear words for them. I know, I can't bring them up either, but anyway. So you have the psychic gifts, psychic awareness, psychic tools such as the tarot, mystery and ancient school information, and this has been an ongoing movement now since at least the 60s, so you're talking a movement that's almost 70 years old, okay? And so the movement stratification has not altered or changed, only the vocabulary has changed over time. So it seems like about every 20 years or so, maybe 30 years, the vocabulary changes because you have a new incrop of human beings, and the older ones are no longer discussing things as openly as they used to because they're nearing the completion of their paths of awareness. And you have the younger generation coming forward, and they're on the bandwagon of all these different topics and all these different explorations and things of that nature. And as a result, they tend to change the vocabulary. And so the vocabulary to date is now in its 3rd manifestation. And so, a lot of you out there are probably far younger than I. I could probably be your grandfather, but anyway, the thing of it is that a lot of these things you're going to recognize, and fortunately, it's been preserved to a large degree through movies and television. There are lots of different series out there, such as Supernatural that was mentioned earlier. A Discovery of Witches is another good one. There are several
I've been watching
other things.
Quantum Leap.
Yeah, the Quantum Leap. There's all kinds of different series out there, some of which have been syndicated because they've been broadcast for a number of years now, and then other ones that are just freshly coming out. Of course, you could go into the Travel Channel. You'll find all kinds of paranormal investigations in regards to ghost hunting and that kind of thing. There's also, of course, channeling on there, mystics on there, mediums on there. Of course, there have been medium establishments as far as what you'd call camps or specific locations. There's one in northern New York. There's another one called Casa Daga, or the House of God, which is in Florida. And there's a few others spread around the country. And basically, I think what we're really, really trying to pull together is a synchronization of etymology, which is, of course, words or phrases. And then in turn, once we have the language completely clarified, we'll be able to intelligently discuss with you in regular terms that everyone will understand or can follow along with. And the drive behind the awakening and ascension age is for everyone to come together, to recognize that we are all one family of mankind, and that there should be no discrimination, bias, injustice, or any of that kind of thing, because we are all equals. No one is any greater or any lesser than anyone else. And as a result of this, that's where we're coming together, and that's why we now have kind of a symposium where we have developed and clarified that Wednesdays will be metaphysics, and then Thursdays will be mini readings, and then Fridays eventually we hope to garner together basically our UFO groups and so forth all over the country and all over the world. And then on Saturdays we're going to do the paranormal crews and their investigations and what their hot topics are. And then Sundays are reserved purely for spirituality, and also sort of like the coming together church-wise, since TJ and I have just established the Ascension Church Ohana, which is currently located in Gulf Breeze, Florida, physically. However, it is a cyberspace church, and any and everyone is all welcome to join. So anyway, that's where we're at.
Called.
Who?
Brett Luter from California.
Okay.
He's an author. He's in our ACO club, our authors club, and he was the very first member of the ACO, and he just called me on the other phone and heard us talking, but he's in his car. But he said he'll call me later tonight, but he didn't want to interrupt the show, but he's listening from his phone in the car while he's driving home from work. So, folks, we appreciate all of you that know that we are the ACO, and some of us weren't metaphysically in tune with the acronym. It's not AOC, the initials for the politician woman, although I admire her for her strength, Kasia, whatever they say. But now remember, as spiritual science metaphysicians, we will vote with our consumer voting power, but if you join our club and we get to know you, we vet you, of course, to get to know you, how you can best assimilate into our group as ACO Club. But we also have Cyberspace Culture, American Communications Online, and we have Alien Contact Org, and we also have UFO Secret Space on Fridays. But I believe Brett doesn't know where he's going to fit in yet. So even though people have been there, they weren't ready for us after 2020 to start separating and unpacking all the various social media groups, because we've all been in social media doing all this free posting and helping and volunteering to post all of it where they could all get the advertising. But now we're going to see, with all the new federal controls, that in communication, they want us to all be tracked individually from space and satellites. And a lot of us have been working in communications, and I used to run a lot of trucks cross-country, coast to coast, and I had satellite communications from, I was doing that type of work from 94 through 2004. So I've been helping people learn how to communicate via Qualcomm and satellite communication since then. And before that, I was in the government. So it's going to be curious how we separate days in only 2 hours a day when there's so many people podcasting. It's very, very popular right now. But what I learned today is it also depends on your equipment, because I didn't know that, my internet is 5G, but just like I was talking to Marci about, a lot of people are old school thinking they have to have headsets.
Right.
So now the phones are so in tune with 5G, and I have MediaCom, which is 5G and really strong bandwidth, but my Sony is only a 3G phone. So I've got two Motorola's, and they're saying that Android is easier to program. So a lot of the kids that only wanted privacy on the app, there's something going on between Apple president and Mark Zuckerberg, president of Facebook. Now, I understand the people that are buying land on the planet, but us metaphysicians have a responsibility to hold the line together. So we want our own voting caucus to say we will vote with voting power. But back to you, Richard. I've got another call coming in. We're very active today. My goodness. Let me mute.
We knew it would be. That's what Richard and I said.
Yep.
TJ, can I say a couple of things?
Well, go ahead. She's bowed out for the moment.
Well, what I just want to say is I could do tarot readings on the very simple and talk to people very simply on the very beginning to like the conversations like Richard and I have that are very, very advanced. It's a matter of gauging, and also it's like Chiron calls them permission slips. Permission slips are tarot readings, they're I Ching, they're all these different things where you're allowing your body to get permission to advance or read or whatever it is, and then you get to a point where you don't need the cards. It's a muscle. It's a very natural. Like Richard and I talk about ghosts, spirits, astral projection, death. It's a very normal conversation for us. And when you get into it with it being a normal conversation, then there's no fear involved, and it just gets more and more aware with what's going on.
And just for all you scientists out there and mental people and so forth, the muscle that Marci is referring to has been in the brain now ever since man was created with a brain, that is, and it has lied dormant in the majority of people. However, when it is instigated electronically through electrical signals of the brain, it is a gland and muscle that falls between the pituitary and the perineum in the brain. And I know from experience, because unfortunately, this came fully awake and active when I was 18 years old, and when I was given a brain scan by a neurosurgeon, he diagnosed it as being a tumor and basically told me that I had 6 months to live. And, of course, I turned around and looked at the man and laughed in his face, which was not the greatest thing to do, but it was telling him that I didn't accept his information, that instead I refused his information, and I told him outright that I would call him in 10 years and tell him how I was doing. So, you see, there are various parts and parcels of the brain that are chemically and electronically charged. As you raise frequency and vibration, you also activate various parts of the brain as well as various systematic drives within your DNA and other parts of the body. They all start coming online. And like Marci was saying earlier, that once your frequency reaches a certain level, you in turn begin to actually heal yourself. And it then becomes kind of like a mind over matter thing, because you say to yourself, well, I want to lose 40 pounds, or I want to gain more muscle strength, or I want to be able to run a marathon, or I want to go hiking, or I want to go climb a mountain, or I want to go surfboarding, or I want to go paragliding, or whatever it happens to be that you have a fancy for, that gives you a thrill and a joy at the moment. You are telling your body that it will adapt and change so that in turn you can undertake these various sports. I mean, I deeply admire all these people who get into these crazy competitions as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the Ironman, when you're jumping from a bike to running to swimming in the water and back again, that's kind of way out there. But yet it's amazing that there are actually thousands of people that's getting back into the mind culture and the eclectics of the etymology, that is, of the standard wavelength of words. I mean, you have to understand that words themselves are frequency. They're harmonic tones that are being broadcast as we speak. So one has to become very intentionally centered, because your words in and of themselves can also manifest things into physical matter. But of course, again, this takes time and practice.
I think his name is Emoto, where he studied the whole water. And The water is sound is frequency, and so when you would have love, he took